Namaste and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sat means truth, logos means a study or science, Sattology means a science of truth, study of truth. It's a true antonym of mythology. Myth in Sanskrit means a fake lie, imagination. Logos in Latin means a study or science, or ligere, come from ligere. Mythology means science of fake lie imagination, a study of fake lie imagination. Today we have a very, very special discussion, one of my favorite topics. And before we start off, I'll introduce you a very good friend and an author and a researcher, you can say, on these topics. So without delay, let us welcome Sri Nithin Sridhar with his new book, A Commentary on Isopanishad. Namaste, Nithin ji.
Thank you, Aditya ji. Namaste. Thank you. Very glad to be here again.
Nithin ji, first of all, before for the benefit of the audience, so we know where does Isopanishad is found, which part of the Veda it is, and which chapter it is particularly.
This is found in the Yajurveda Samhita towards the end. So the unique aspect of Ishavasya Upanishad is it is a Samhita Upanishad. Usually, the most of the Upanishads are found towards the end of the Brahmanas. But this is an exception. So that is why it is sometimes it has a very special place in the tradition as well.
So when we say everybody quotes many mantras from here, like every pujari will quote it. After the puja is complete, he'll start with the invocation, and so Om Purnam Ada Purnamidam. Very few people know it's from Ishopanishad actually. Om Purnamidam Purnat Purnasya. So now, and I'm going to relate it because you've done the translation here with the current world. There is a lot of voidness, a lot of emptiness in the world today. And somehow that shloka itself speaks about completing that void. Now, what is that void people experience, especially in the Western countries, and now anyone who follows the Western thought process? Countries like Philippines, countries like South America, countries like Europe itself. So, how do we remove the voidness in the heart with this book?
A wonderful question, Aditya ji. I think the beauty of this book is it sets out in a very clear language in the very opening verses how we should approach life, how we should approach universe, how what should be our anchoring in our life. I think the lot of issue that we see, the void you mentioned in people's life, especially in today's modern world, and you mentioned the voidness in the West, but I would say that in modern urban India also a lot of people face this void. This is because there is a lack of meaning in one's life. There is lack of proper anchoring because in the name of modernity we have kind of uh, thrown the entire history, our traditions, and everything, culture and religion and philosophy into a dustbin. So we have nothing to anchor our life. And, and that anchor also has to be something which is positive. Only then we will feel fulfillment in life. And towards this end, I think this particular Upanishad is fantastic. It gives a kind of overview or an introduction to the entire new world, a new perspective, a new approach to life. As you said, the very opening verse, and it's a Shanti mantra. It's not the first verse of the Upanishad, but it's a Shanti mantra. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. This uh, this stress on the Purnam in this verse, it makes all the difference in the world. It kind of stresses the point that we are not sinful, we are not incomplete, we are not void, we are not alone, we are not meaningless. It stresses the point that we are whole, we are part of this universal whole. If somebody is not comfortable with the idea that we are wholeness itself, they can still think it in the sense that we are part of this wholeness, which can be called by many names as Brahman, as Ishvara, as whatever it is. So we are this wholeness, we are the part of this wholeness, and this wholeness alone exists. So the first opening verse of Isha Upanishad says, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Yatkinja Jagatyam Jagat. That is Ishvara or Isha, the divine principle. He lives, he inhabits, he covers every aspect of the universe. Everything in the universe, Jagatyam Jagat, whatever is moving in this universe, which is always moving. So, this perspective is what is life changing. This perspective is what can anchor us in our most difficult of difficult times. The recognition that there is Ishvara, the recognition that Ishvara is the ultimate anchor to our life, ultimate refuge to us. And this is what makes a difference between life and death, so to speak. A difference between one, you know, today's world is especially, we are going through a lot of troubles, lot of conflicts everywhere, and now we have pandemic, and a lot of people are finding it very difficult to stay at home. The lockdown and all, there are a lot of issues, and world always had issues. That is the nature of the world. But despite all the conflict, despite all in midst of all this, if there is one thing we can, it's very easy for us to take a pessimistic view of the world. It is very easy to get sucked in into this negativity and mm, uh, I remember the movie Joker. It's a wonderfully made movie, and the difficulties of the life is what makes Joker the Joker, the villain, right? But and that is very much possible. It's not just the movie. In real life, a lot of people go through that path. But it is this, the recognition that there is Ishvara everywhere, there is divinity everywhere, and this divinity is approachable. This divinity is not in some heaven, in some mountain, but it is here and now, everywhere, inside of us, outside of us, everywhere. It is this recognition and this ability to communicate with that, it is what can act as the anchor. This realization is what can help us to anchor ourselves in life and wade through the conflicts in life to find fulfillment and meaning in life.
The definitions of Vidya and Avidya very clearly defined in Ishopanishad. Like people ask, what is Vidya, what is Avidya? And people who read it will understand. And before we go there, so this Brahmana who is asking, who is expressing his viewpoint, you know, and then he's asking Bhagwan Hari to remove his effulgence from his face. He does that. So, so before we touch upon that topic, so Vidya and Avidya, people think that just passing a degree course is Vidya, which is attending 10 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 or whatever it is plus 5 is Vidya. So, how do you distinguish between the Vidya mentioned in Sri Isopanishad and the Vidya that kids are getting today?
See, it's very interesting. These particular verses, I think verse number 9 to 11, which speaks about Vidya and Avidya, it has been most widely interpreted by different commentators across the last 1,200 years. And when I started, studying this text in a deeper manner, and this was one of those points on which I reflected upon for a very long time. And the beauty of this Upanishad is it gives a very specific meaning. It has a specific connotation as far as Vidya and Avidya is concerned. It in normally we can translate into English Vidya as knowledge and Avidya as ignorance. But this ignorance could mean anything. Because here it also speaks about those who indulge in Avidya, those who indulge in Vidya, so those who worship Vidya and those who worship Avidya also, it says. So, it has given to a lot of interpretations, but in my understanding, the major sense in which it is giving is particular. it's very relevant today. It is saying that ignorance or avidya, by avidya it actually um, refers to the performance of actions, because our actions which we perform in life, with the desires, we have a particular desire in mind. It could be a worldly desire in the sense of having, we do a job to get money, to settle ourselves, having family, or whatever it is, to fulfill our desires we have to perform actions. But this whole pursuit is based on the ignorance of our true nature of reality, the true nature of reality, that we are already whole, we are already full, we are already divine, and we actually do not need anything to complete us. Because of the ignorance about this real nature of our own self, we indulge in this all these actions to pursue something, indulge in pursuit of this, one desire after another desire. It is the Upanishad is not saying that such a pursuit is wrong per se. It is merely pointing out that compared to this pursuit, into only in the performance of actions, performance of, the pursuit of punyam, the pursuit of artha and kama. Better than that is the upasana of the vidya, the vidya upasana. What is vidya? Vidya is upasana. It is, here it stands for meditation. Here it stands for devata upasana, bhakti, devotion, a devotion to Ishvara, anchoring ourselves, our life to Ishvara. It's saying that that pursuit is more superior in the sense that that pursuit leads us to the better results. That pursuit, anchoring ourselves to Ishvara and practicing bhakti, ultimately, if in the language of the Upanishad, after death, it will take us to the Devata Loka. It will take us to nearness to the deity. But even otherwise, it helps us to attain chitta shuddhi, the purification of the mind. It helps us to attain one pointed concentration, and it helps us to attain vairagya or dispassion towards worldly pursuit, which are ultimately the qualities or qualifications required for moksha. So it is in this way that Vidya and Avidya are described. And but importantly, the Upanishad does not say that. It goes a step further and says pursuing only the Avidya or the karmas and pursuing only the Vidya or the Upasana in isolation is not that useful. It is useful. It has its own unique fruits and they are all good fruits. It is nothing negative in them. But if you want a superior fruit in the form of immortality, in the form of moksham, in the form of non return to the cycle of birth and death, then you have to combine them. You have to combine them. You have to do your dharma, do your karma. That is, you have to do your duties. You have to live an ethical life. You have to pursue this artha and kama, the worldly pleasures and prosperity, in a ethical manner, in a dharmic manner. But at the same time, you have to also do the meditation. You have to also do bhakti. You have to also root yourself to Ishwar. When you do this both together, that is the path for ultimate liberation. This is what the Ishopanishad gives. This is a kind of it gives a ready-made chart, ready-made pathways for how we can attain the highest good in our life. How we can attain self-actualization, how we can go beyond self-actualization and attain self-realization. So this is the beauty of the Isha Upanishad.
So one of the things which comes in the mind, especially in the Ishopanishad, is when the Brahman asked to remove from Sri Hari the dazzling effulgence from his face. Now it shows two things. That first of all, Bhagwan is very bright. So first of all, it's not a light bulb, but his brightness stage is very bright. And the second is that there is a personal connection you can ask Bhagwan, because the Abrahamic thought process is that he is a very cruel person. He's out there to destroy you. He's very envious. He's a pickpocket. That's how they describe it. Like, वो आपका जेब से पैसा निकालने के लिए आए हुए हैं, भगवान. So how does, like, it's a very striking, we are having little lighter conversation than what Sri Upanishad stands for. But that is exactly point. The point is The book is meant to make you little bit relaxed and light. You can also ask from Bhagwan, Akama Sarva Kamo Va Moksha Kamo Daridi. So what is that point which you would like to make on there? Because it's a Ishopanishad is an ocean. In those 11 or 12 shloka, you can 18, we can just talk about the whole planet. What is your
Yes, yeah, definitely. The verse you are referring to is the 15th verse. The Hiranmayena Patrena
that's right.
Satyasya Pihidam Mukham Tattvam Pushan Apavranu Satyadharmaya Drishtaya. And after that verse, we have in the 17th verse, again another wonderful, 17th. Vayuranilam Amritam Athaidam Basmantaram Shariram Om Kratusmara Kritam Smara Kratusmara Kratusmara. These four verses, 15 to 18 verses, all of them are prayer of the Brahmana, of the one who is on the verge of death. And this is the beauty. This person who is doing this prayer, he has dedicated his whole life to the practice of Vidya and Avidya. That is the practice of Dharma Anushtana, Swadharma Anushtana, and the practice of Bhakti. And now he is on the verge of death, and he knows his time is coming. And then he's appealing, he's putting out this prayer. He's saying the 15th and 16th verse are directed towards Surya Bhagwan, are they actually directed towards Hiranyagarbha, who is who exists as Surya in the Surya Mandala. He's saying, "O Bhagwan, remove the effulgence from me. Take away this effulgence such that I can see your face. I can see the truth. I who have practiced Satya Dharma, I have practiced Dharma and Bhakti, so that I can see your face, so that I can see you." And it beautifully says, Yatte Rupam Kalyanatamam Tatte Pashyami So Va Asau Purusha Soham Asmi. Aham Asmi. You are I. I know that in reality, you and I are same. Our innermost reality is that we are both Brahman, we are both Atman. But in the Vyavahara Dasha, you are Surya Bhagavan, you are Hiranyagarbha, and I am a Jiva. Please gather your life. The tejas, I'm not able to see the true nature of yourself and myself because of this, the tejas, that is the manifestation of multiplicities in the world. So remove this duality and take me to the non-duality. So this is kind of, he on the verge of his death, he's asking the Surya Bhagavan to, when he leaves the body, take him through this northern path to the ultimate Brahmaloka. This is the terms in the ultimate abode of the deity, the ultimate abode of Ishvara, you can say. And then in the next last two verses, it is a prayer to Agni. It is a prayer to Agni, requesting Agni to remember my activities in my life. Kratasmara, Kratasmara. Whatever I have done in this life, please remember that and free me from those activities. So Agni is the deity of Muladhara Chakra. Agni is also the deity of this, the Bhuloka, the physical universe. It is through the activity, he is the witness. It is through the activity in this world that we become free of the limitations of this world. So it is a prayer to Agni that free me from this attachment to the physical world so that I can travel through the northern path to Surya Loka or to Hiranyagarbha and not return. To stay eternally or stay until attaining the final moksha in the form of Atma Jnana there. This is, see the beauty of it. And there's a direct connection here, as you rightly said. This is a prayer of a person who has for lifelong, he has dedicated his life, he has anchored his life in Ishvara, and he has dedicated his actions, the fruits of actions, as well as the doership of actions at the feet of Ishvara. And hence, he is now in a position to make an appeal to Ishvara that now, once I leave the body, It's your responsibility to ensure that I attain Sadgati. It's your responsibility to ensure that I am taken through the right path. And it mentions the verse, it specifically says that after death, let Vayur Anilam Amrita Atha Idam Basmantam Shariram. Let the physical body become reduced to ashes. Let my prana, the pranamaya kosha, my air, become merged with the immortal air. That is the Hiranyagarbha. That is what the prayer says. Such beautiful prayer. I mean, I haven't. This is the beauty of Sanatan Dharma. I may be biased here, but I think it's in Sanatan Dharma that we have such beautiful, such very deeply meaningful prayers, such meaningful, deeply, each word in this prayer is has a deeper meaning, and it is something which can be actually realized, something which can be, it is attainable. It is not simply a philosophical abstract concept which is there in a textbook, but it is not, which cannot be attained directly.
So the various aspects of Bhagwan, like the Hari Hiranyagarbha is Vishnu's, this thing Hiranyagarbha. So various aspects of him are described. Ishopanishad is always to the point. It doesn't beat around the bush. Doesn't it is a more difficult in Sanskrit as compared to Bhagavad Gita in the terms of quality of Sanskrit. So who do you think? So we all know that Yajurveda was written by Vaishampayan. Vaishampayan was the author under the Vyasdev. Now Yajurveda talks about the ownership of everything in this world, and which you quoted also one shloka, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam, from the same book. Now, this concept is the ultimate concept of peace and harmony in the world. If you look at all the Abrahamic faiths conquering every single land for money, that's the main purpose was to taxes. And India was a golden target because Hindus were always obedient. And so they knew that even if they conquer, they will still not fight. They'll apply their brain, and their logic is that kya karna abhi aa gaye, to let's move on. So do you think Ishopanishad brings strength to the minds of the weak Hindus also, where who can resist and fight for their own existence actually?
Yes, I think we can definitely interpret Isha Upanishad in that way, especially its stress on actions, its stress on Swadharma. In the very second verse, after opening the verse with the, after opening the Upanishad with a boom, saying that Isha Vasamidam Sarvam, what is the second verse? It says, Kurvanne veha iha karmani, jiji vishet shatam samaha, em tvai na anyathe tosti, na karma lipyate. For one who has a desire, Jiji Vishet Shatam Sama, one who has desire to live in this world for 100 years, that is one who is attached to this world, who is living in this world, who is living, who is pursuing Artha and Kama. For such a person, Kurvanne Veha Iha Karmani, he has to perform actions, he has to perform his duties, he has to perform Dharma. There is no way other than this. So, what does this performing action and duty means? For a king or for a ruler, that means that welfare of the citizens. That also means that ensuring that dharma is established and adharma is removed. And Indian context, it also means to right the historical wrongs, to reconquest the lands that we have lost historically. And at the level of Hindu society, it means that we have to fight for dharma, we have to fight for righteousness, we have to recognize adharma wherever it is, and we should not hesitate to fight adharma. In Ramayana, when that I think it is Tataka episode, when Rama hesitates to kill the Rakshasi because she is a woman, Vishwamitra says, "Don't hesitate because she is a woman, because she is rooted in adharma. So he says, slay the adharma, slay those who are rooted in adharma wherever they are. So this is what it means to do our swadharma. That each of us do what is necessary of us, what is expected of us, what the Shastras tells us to do. So a duty of a ruler is, as I explained, that at the individual level, it is also our duty. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha, right? To protect dharma by practicing dharma. But practicing dharma also involves ensuring intellectually, ensuring physically, and ensuring in every aspect of life that dharma is protected and adharma is destroyed. So, if Isha Upanishad is properly understood, if the Upanishad thought is properly understood, then there is no scope for cowardice. There is no scope for the the misguiding, misleading notions such as Hindi chini bhai bhai. Such kind of misleading notions are not there. It is interesting that the famous quote of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which comes from one of the Upanishads, Maha Upanishad, is often used as linchpin of our political policy, but without understanding its proper context, and we end up applying it in a way which is harmful to us. Self harm is the greatest adharma, and self protection is the greatest dharma. In the Mahabharata we get this. I think it was Durvasa Muni, or is it Vishwa? I think it was Durvasa Muni. When he had nothing to eat, he was even ready to eat dogs and other things which were prohibited to him. But he says, let me first live, and then I can think of prayashchitta or practicing my dharma. Self protection, self service is the greatest dharma. This Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a Upanishad statement. It has a Upanishadic spiritual context, yes. But if we are to apply in a socio-political scenario, it has to be contextualized, reinterpreted. How? What is the Hindu notion of kutumba or a family? Family is not a homogeneous structure. Family is not a uh, egalitarian structure. Family is a hierarchical structure. There is the parents. The father is the head of the family, and subservient to them or dependent on them are the children. Children have very less duties. Children have very less responsibilities. They have greater freedom, so to speak, but they also do not have a decision making capacity. They are dependent on their parents for their survival, their caring and survival, existing, food and everything. So they have to listen to the instructions of the parents. So there is a clear hierarchy. But hierarchy does not, by default, means exploitation. Exploitation could be there in any system. Even in egalitarian system that is promoted today, there is exploitation. But in an ideal Hindu vision of a family, the father and the mother, they are the heads of the family. They ensure the well-being of the whole family. The children are fed food first before the parents take them. So the parents have the greater responsibility, but also the greater decision-making capacity. So if we are saying in a socio-political context that we are Vishwa Guru or we are Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, then in that Kutumba, that in family called world, India is at the center. India is the head of the family. Otherwise, such a political policy does not make sense, right? So if India is at the head of the policy, then it means that we are in a hierarchical position wherein the others are parts of it, where our responsibility is there to look for the welfare of them, but at the same time we also have a responsibility to correct those who going are being astray, who are going away from the principles of the family. This is how you interpret the in a socio-political scenario, because the father also has the right to punish the children when they commit wrong, right? Without understanding, if you are misinterpreting the Upanishad statements, which is a spiritual context, which is a personal context, which is a context of a particular kind of adhyatmic pursuit into a social political scenario without adjusting them into social political scenario, then it is misleading. So even in the case of Isha Upanishad also, we need to understand when it says Kurvanne Veha Karmani, what karma it is saying? It is saying a Swadharma. And what is that Swadharma in the context of socio-political? It is there is a Swadharma for the king is the Rajadharma. For us, it is Prajadharma, the citizens. And at the individual level, each of us, being a practicing Hindu, we have a dharma for our civilization, we have a dharma for towards our society, and most importantly, we have dharma, we have duty, obligation towards protecting dharma itself. Dharmo rakshati rakshita, right? So, seen in this context, there is no scope for weakness, there is no scope for cowardice, there is no scope for hesitation, there is no scope for Gandhian ahimsa, there is no scope for misleading notions which are harmful to our own self.
My next question you already know. The next shloka is Asurya Namte. Asurya Namte Loka Andhena Tamasafrita. Tamste Pretyabhigachanti Ye ke Chatamo Hanochata. So now here the word Asura is being used, the killer of the soul, killer of Atma. Now, most of the Abrahamic faiths, they focus only on the body. And even the conceptions are like that, believing in the blood. But here, most of such people are referred as killer of Atma. So in the global context, how you explain who is the actual killer of Atma?
I think you already explained it well in in your question itself. It's very beautiful, there are so many layers of meaning to this verses in this Upanishad. You you rightly said that it uses this Atma Hano Janaha, the one who slays themselves. They go into a loka called Asurya Namate Loka, an undivine is the name of the worlds. And what is the quality of this Asura Nama? Asura Loka, it is that Andena Tamasa Avrata, it is engulfed in blinding darkness. So it is qualifying people who are acting in a certain way in this life itself. When we are living in the world and we take this body as the ultimate truth, we take this materialistic understanding of the world as the ultimate truth. The way the modern science does. The modern science says that even consciousness is a product of brain activity. Love is a product of chemical reactions. This perspective that 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 places too much stress on the body, that makes the body as a reference point. That body is the ultimate truth. The physicality of our existence is the ultimate truth, and there is nothing beyond that. It is this kind of perspective to the world is called as andena tamasavrata. This is the tamasa. This is the darkness. This is the tamas guna. Because of this inertia, because of tamas guna, we are incapable of seeing the greater truth, the consciousness, the Brahman beyond, who is the innermost self, is the real self. Because we are denying the existence of Brahman, Atman, Ishvara beyond the physical reality, so we are in a sense killing him, metaphorically killing him. We are metaphorically slaying our own self. Atmahana. By denying that there is Atman, by denying that our self is much greater, much deeper, and distinct from this body mind complex, we are killing ourselves. And you rightly pointed out that many of these Abrahamic religions fit into this definition, this broad definition. This is a great critique of materialism. It's a great critique of a worldview rooted in physicality, worldview which is rooted in um, body alone as real. So this is a critique of even some some aspects of modern science as well, because this some aspects of modern science is again rooted in has evolved out of Christian theology in one or the other sense, right? So in a modern world, and a proper understanding, a proper teaching of Ishavasya Upanishad, especially this verse, is very helpful to transcend this attachment to the body, transcend to the attachment to the idea that body is the ultimate truth, that body is everything. See, it is important that we cannot simply wish wash the we cannot simply remove the body from our existence, right? Body is there. Body has to be taken care of. Yes, body has to be kept fit. Yes, the yoga has to be practiced through. One of the aspects of yoga is asana, and actions are also performed by the body. Yes, but we have to understand the place of body in the overall scheme of things. When we say that those who are in tamasic, or those who are inertia based, consider body as supreme, the it is not a statement which is degrading any kind of body consciousness. No, what it is considering as inferior understanding is the perspective that body is everything, or the materialistic perspective is everything. So this has to be removed, and this is at the root of you know how in the West as well as in urban India today we have uh, gone to a unbridled pursuit of wealth and pleasures without care for ethical living. We are pursuing artha and kama in a such a reckless manner that we do not care for the results of our action, either for our own self or for the greater society. We indulge in a lot of pleasures. Indulging in pleasure is not wrong, but indulging in pleasure in such a way that it is harming us without any restraint, that is the problem. And this kind of unrestrained pursuit of wealth and pleasures and prosperity is rooted in this conceptions like we only live once. This is a very which is very prevalent today among the youth. We only live once, and this is completely contrary to the teachings of this Upanishad, completely contrary to the teachings of the Sanatan Dharma as a whole, which speak about punarjanma. We do not live only once, but the notion that we live only once creates an urgency in us to enjoy life to the best without caring for any kind of long term consequences, by caring for only instantaneous pleasure. This is at the root of indulging in drugs, indulging in reckless pursuit of reckless sexual pursuits, so many other things. And all of them are ultimately rooted in this body consciousness. Body is the ultimate reality, this life as the only life. The only way we can transcend these notions is by understanding that there is a self, there is Atman, which is beyond this body consciousness. And Mandukya Upanishad is a very good Upanishad, which shows a way that we can all, even at a very intellectual level, realize that there is self distinct from this body. And it is this is basically is the message of Isha Upanishad as.
So there is a another misconception is here big time, especially in the see Ishopanishad completely debunks in just 18 shloka the entire Abrahamic faith process completely. Like there is not a single thing left over there. Bhagavad Gita is like putting a nail on the coffin, but this one is completely debunks everything, and it is part of Yajurveda. See, the Yajurveda talks about proprietorship of everything in this world constantly. It says who is the actual owner of earth, who is the actual owner of moon, all these different aspects it covers in detail. The earth, it is mentioned, it is Bhumi, wife of Vishnu. So Vishnu is the proprietor, Isha, and it very beautifully puts it out. But in the next sloka, Aneja dekam manaso javiyo, Naina deva apuvan purumarshat, tadhavato jnan. Like, he is swifter than the mind, faster than the like it is directly saying that Bhagwan is a person, not some imaginary energy. Some people say it's an energy. Energy cannot just run with the legs. Energy cannot be swifter than the mind. All those things are there, like Shaktivan and Shakti. We already discussed that one time in the discussion also. So it automatically establishes a personal view of Bhagwan, the absolute truth. The absolute truth is Bhagwan, very simple, simply put. What is your view on this in your translation? What part you have covered which makes it more complete?
Uh, in the second part of the book has actually two parts. In the part one, I have done a verse by verse translation and an English commentary on each verse. The commentary is also is verse, not only verse by verse but also words by word. But in the second part, I have given the overall vision of the Upanishad, moving beyond the text. So anybody can start read the second part first and then read the commentary, or they can read the commentary first and then read the second part, because they are they are both together. They complement each other. So in the second part, I start with the scheme of the Upanishad. What is the how the Upanishad charts out. The first verse gives the ultimate vision, ultimate truth, ultimate reality that Ishvara is everywhere. And the first verse also urges us to take renunciation, leave out all desires, and take renunciation to attain the ultimate knowledge, the Brahma Gyan. But in the second verse, it gives instruction for those who have desires and how to live in this world by following Dharma. And in third verse, it says, speaks about what is the fate of those who neither follow renunciation, who also give up Dharma, and how they end up in more and more attachment, more and more darkness. After this basic introduction, then from verse 4 to verse 8, the Upanishad deals with two things. One, what is the nature of Brahman? What is the nature of Atman or Brahman? And what is the state of Jnanam? And who is the Jivan Mukta? What does it mean to attain Jnanam? What does it mean to attain Atma Jnana? And then verse 8 to 14 speaks about how to attain Jnanam. What are the paths? The path of Dharma, the path of Upasana we just discussed. And then 15 to 18 are prayers, right? So from 4 to 8, we have a description. You very well spoke about how it beautifully speaks about Aneja dekam manaso javiyo nainyadeva apnavat purvamarshat. How it is unmoving as well as faster than the mind. How it is beyond the Atman or the Brahman, the ultimate reality is beyond the grasp of the senses, because it is always moving in the front. What does it mean? It means that the ultimate reality is something which cannot be described directly to the words, or directly through our mind and the senses. It cannot be directly grasped. Why? Because all the objects in the universe, their innermost self is that same Brahman, both the living being as well as the non-living objects. The underlying substratum is Brahman. So you cannot objectify the ultimate reality. Ultimate reality is beyond the duality of subject and object. So that is one perspective. However, though this is a fact, in ultimate meditation, in the Vedantic meditation of Nididhyasa, we do meditate on Mahavakyas of Upanishads like Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma, wherein we meditate that our Atma itself is Brahman. We are everything, or Brahman is everything. And in such a meditation, there is a generation of what is called as Akhandakara Vritti Jnana, wherein the Brahman at first we meditate it as an object which inhabits everything, and then the Vritti Jnana removes the avidya and takes us to a stage which is beyond duality. So this Upanishad beautifully captures so many things in a very short number of verses. And moving after fourth and fifth verses, it speaks about yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyeva anupushyati sarva bhuteshu cha atmanam tato na vijugupsate. For whom verily the person who perceives his innermost self atmani in all things sarvani bhutani. Wherever he sees his own self and all entities inside his innermost self. Sarvabhuteshu Atmanam. For such a person, where is aversion, where is likes, where is dislikes, where is moha, where is shoka, ekatvam anupashyati. He perceives oneness alone. So this is the ultimate message of Upanishad. That ultimate goal, the highest attainment is traveling from duality, wherein we perceive subject and object, wherein we perceive the multitudes of nama and rupa, the names and objects. We have so many people, so many objects, so many worlds, everything. We travel from this vyavaharika understanding, perception, to the paramarthika level, to the highest absolute understanding that ekatvam anupashyati. There is only one. You call it Ishwara, you call it Parabrahman, you call it Atman, whatever it is, the reality is only one. That reality is Satchidanand. That reality is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. It is infinite. There cannot be two infinity. This is the ultimate vision of the Upanishad. This is the ultimate goal that Upanishad posits that every person should pursue. That we we start now from darkness, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, right? And Mrityoma Amritam Gana. The Asat is this perception of multitudes, the perception of Nama Rupa. The Sat is the perception of oneness, where everything becomes our own self, where we perceive ourselves in everything. So this is the ultimate vision. And I think this is very relevant today because this vision, again, I am bringing the concept of anchoring. It helps us to anchor ourselves in life. Most of us, 99.99% of us, will not be able to realize this vision firsthand in this life. It may take many lives. But if we anchor ourselves to this goal, to this vision, then we can, without anxiety, without fear, without disgust, we can live in this world positively. We can pursue this ultimate goal through our actions, through our devotion, through multitude of paths. Even the path of, for example, karma yoga, wherein we live in the world, we practice karmas, but in such a way that it leads to purification of the mind. So that is why this anchoring of our life to the Upanishadic vision or the goal is very important.
Very good points you made, Nitinji. And like I told you, this is a very interesting topic for me also, and just like you. Uh, so one last point which comes in the mind, and you have spoken in detail. See, we have to make these knowledge relevant to the people. And as the Indian education system, you all know that we all keep on complaining that there is no pedagogy for teaching the Vedic way, in a Vedic way. In a Vedic way, by the age of 14, people were already learned. Now, we have added 16 years to that, despite the Kali Yuga reducing the lifespan and all the things. We have added up to 30 people are studying nowadays. And in certain universities, people are still studying till the age of 50. So majority of the life they have spent in academic. So the productive use of the people in the practical life has ended. And most of the commentaries you see, so many talk shows, unlimited talk shows, people have no control over their speech, and just because they have read few books or they've got some phds or whatever, and they keep on analyzing everything, but there is no analysis from the thought point of the Veda, from the mindset of the Veda. Now this book completely talks about changing our thought process in line with the ultimate truth. So, what do you think we should do to change the pedagogy so that we change our, see, the colonizers work in two ways, and we are speaking in the language of the colonizers right now. And for all the viewers, we are speaking in English because we are speaking to an American audience, and that's the only reason. I'm very good in Hindi, Marathi, and Punjabi, all three. So, uh, but for our mindset to change, we have to change our thought process, and the thought process comes from Sanskrit, like Vidya, Avidya, very beautiful words, better than anything education and non and illiteracy. Illiteracy is and education, because the Western world was in diapers until 16th century, and then they suddenly got enlightenment from stealing information from everywhere else. Still they are not enlightened, and so they have light bulbs but not enlightened. So now the point which I'm trying to say is that this has to become part of our conscience, our thought process. Number one is language. Now we know Sanskrit or Brahmi script or Devanagari script is the most advanced language and the advanced script to write anything. And from there comes the thought process, because I have seen all the great acharyas, including Prabhupada or any other Vivekananda, any other people, they are there. They have always used shloka, so they're thinking in Sanskrit, speaking in English or any other language. So that has to come, and we have to spread it to West, so that America starts thinking in Sanskrit also. So how does this work of yours move us in that direction?
That's a wonderful question, Aditya ji. I have deliberately chosen in this work, though I have translated its English translation with English commentary, but I have deliberately retained Sanskrit words wherever possible and wherever I have found it important. For example, in most places, I have retained the terms such as karma anushtan. You can simply translate it as performance of karma, but performance of action. But it does not carry the weight that karma anusthana has in it. Anusthana is not just performance. Anusthana has a sense of sadhana. It has a sense of something that has to be done every day, something that has a spiritual benefit, that has a benefit beyond the materialistic fruits. Such perspective do not come to you when you simply speak about performance of action. Similarly, the terms like dharma, terms, a lot of technical terms, I have written it as it is. I have mentioned them in brackets. I have given translation, and many times when I have used the translation in bracket, I have given the Sanskrit words. But I have tried my best to the best possible, except for some common words which are easily accepted and conventionally translated. But other cases, I have tried to retain the technical terms as it is, even in this translation in my commentary. The reason is, as you rightly said, it's about conveying exact thought. The translation always, as they say, lost in translation. Certain nuances are often lost. And it is very difficult to convey these nuances uh, by simply replacing one Sanskrit word with one English word. That is true for most translations, but translating to Indian language is more easier because they heavily borrow from Sanskrit. Sanskrit has a relationship of mother and daughter with Indian languages. So translating in Indian languages is very easy. but it's difficult in English. So I have retained, and so therefore, to ensure that we bring in the concepts of Vidya, Avidya, and Brahman, all these concepts into English language as well, so that the sanctity of the word, sanctity of the concept denoted by the word is not lost. However, there is, of course, even today, there is possibility that this could be misunderstood. For example, in the colloquial usage of English now in urban sphere, there is a phrase like "karma is a bitch." That does not make sense. In this, it can make sense in a very superficial level, but it does not make sense at a deeper level. Karma is action, and it has the fruits of action connected to that. But there is no sense of revenge. It's not karma is not a bitch, right? So, but despite that, uh, it is a good thing, to use Sanskrit terminologies in English language. It may not be enough, of course. For this reason, I have retained the when I mention the verses, each verses are given in Devanagari, and then their translations are given, and then the commentary is also word by word commentary is also there. The book is written for a modern audience. See, if one wants a very technical Shastric understanding of the Upanishad, there are already commentaries by the traditional acharyas. You have commentary by Shankaracharya, commentary by Ramanujacharya, commentary by Madhvacharya. Different commentators have commented from their own darshanik perspective. But this commentary is aimed at modern audience. It is it is honest. It aligns with the traditional teaching. It aligns especially with Advaita tradition. But and it is also not a new age translation. I would clarify. I have i have stuck to the shastric interpretation. However, I have presented it in a modern way, in a way that we all can understand without kind of filtering or simplifying things beyond a point. So there is no cliche things here, but at the same time I have tried to stay away from lot of modern works on Upanishad in the in an attempt to contextualize to modern ways, modern world. They sometimes simply oversimplify the Shastri teachings. They sometimes deviate from the essence of the Shastras. I have avoided that to the best of my ability. So sometimes it is for this reason also I have retained Sanskrit terminologies wherever possible without translating them. The purpose is any audience, an American audience, European audience, or Indian audience who reads this book, my book, they may at first find that it is a Shastri presentation, but it has been retained, it has been designed in such a way so as to promote reflection on the text. Because the Ishopanishad has too much insights. The same verse, the same shloka, the same words can have hundreds of layers of meaning, hundreds of meanings which are relevant to different people. For example, Aditya, you suggested how the third verse, Asurya Namate Loka, is a critique of Abrahamism. And in our discussion, it struck me that it is a critique of modern science as well. While writing it, I did not had that perspective. So this kind of new perspectives are only possible when you retain the integrity of the Shastric nature of the text. The sutra format, the explanation of the sutra in a technical sense, in a simplified format, but in a technical sense, without oversimplifying, without diluting it, only then such perspectives are possible, such reflections are possible. So this is a modern commentary on the Ishavasya Upanishad, but which is very traditional in its orientation, in its alignment.
you indirectly promoted my book. It was Karma is a Bitch, and I wrote that book because two women were fighting on the airport, and I thought they're all saying karma is a bitch, karma is a bitch. But my book talks purely Sanskrit, the entire science of. Actually, the subtitle is How to Tame It. So,
Nice, nice. I should get that book.
so in that I have mentioned all the 28 naraks and the different types of swarg. But it is one exclusive book I've written. I'm actually promoting your book, but you took the name, so I'm just saying it. So in that only for the purpose of giving the complete science of karma from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Puran and other references. Anyway, that book is one of the best selling books in the North America.
You would be happy to know that in my book, in the second part, I have included description of this 28 narakas as given in the Bhagavatam.
Yes, yes, same thing I have done. Chapter 9, Canto 9.
Yeah.
You know,
So it mostly the in a Vedantic book you don't find a description of narakas.
that's
My
right.
book is an exception because I have focused both on the twofold goal of the Veda. The Veda's twofold goal. The Karma Kanda focuses on Dharma. The Jnana Kanda focuses on Atma Vidya or the Brahma Vidya.
Yeah,
Because Isha Upanishad is a Samhita Upanishad, it speaks about both.
both.
It's a full-fledged Vedic teaching of both Pravritti Marga and Nivritti Marga.
Pravritti Marg. That's right. That's right. And I think Pravritti Marg is not good because that's what most of the Brahmic literatures talk about it. But anyway, Nivritti Marg is always easier, because desires never end. If you just keep on fulfilling it, will never end. Thank you so much, Nitinji. And what a wonderful book for viewers who are watching it. Get that book, Ishopanishad by Nithin Sridhar. And looks like it's a great commentary. I've asked all the relevant questions to give you some idea of what was his perspective, mind behind writing this. And it takes one to know one. So since I have been teaching this, so I know a little bit, and and this is a wonderful way because, and I encourage a lot of you to read also and study. It's not that you have to, first of all, you never become the guru of the guru. Okay, that never happens. Okay, once you so we are always under our acharyas. Our acharyas are always acharyas. It never happens. And the safest position is to be always a student, even if others call you a guru, but you are remaining a student of your own guru. So that's the safest position, because otherwise the pride will come in. Lobh, mad, matsarya. And after pride, it comes craziness. So just remember that. So thank you so much, Nitin Sridhar. Always a pleasure to talk to you. It's fun.
Thank you. Thank you, Aditya.
And for
Extremely
all those
enjoyed the session.
and for all those people who are watching us live, do go to the YouTube also and subscribe also, and let us know your feedback. Ask questions, and then if you have any doubt, it's a difficult book, and ask questions and read it. And I'll definitely recommend Nathan Sridhar's book, translation also. Namaste and thank you.
Thank you.